Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Timmy V.
That's
what was that noise? That was like
Surprised you got it right.
We talk about horror movies on this show. It's a horror movie podcast. It is October, which means it is the October-thon 2019, and we are doing episodes every single day. This episode is about the Banana Splits movie from earlier this year, which is a kind of weird horror movie spin-off to the classic Banana Splits TV show, which I have never seen. In fact, I only ever heard the song originally because there was a cover of it in Kick-Ass in 2010. I was not familiar with this show at all. When I saw the trailer for this, I thought it was just like made up characters. I didn't know it was actually based on a thing from like the 70s or whatever. So news to me.
No, me as well, and it's surprising because I feel like a lot of people that I've seen talking about the movie know exactly what it is. Like, and every person I've mentioned it to or that I've seen talking about it is like, oh, based on that like cartoon show, and I'm like, what cartoon show? I knew it was based on something like when it was coming out because of the description of it, but this was a complete blank thing. I don't think I ever saw this as a kid, or if I did, I don't remember it.
Na 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 na. Okay, I'll do it once. It's out of my system. I won't do it again. So yeah, we'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll give you a warning in the middle before we go into spoilers. Banana Splits is actually the TV show exists in this movie. It is, I assumed it was people in outfits, but at least in the movie, it's robots, it's animatronics, who are dressed as the big furry sort of animal characters. There's 4 of them, and their main character, the main character arguably is the mum, Beth, but the young son, Harley, is a big fan. He's a little bit too old for it now, but he's a big fan, and for his birthday they are taking him, the entire family's going to a TV taping of the Banana Split show, and that's kind of where things go haywire. And of course it's a horror movie, so the Banana Splits animatronic characters start murdering people. So that's the premise of the movie. Oh dear. So it's got a family dynamic. You've got the older brother who's like 19, who's a bit of a loser, but kind of looks out for his brother a little bit. You've got the stepdad. He's Harley's dad, but he's the 19-year-old stepdad. He's a new husband, or newish. And you've got a family unit. They also take like another kid who's not really a friend of Harley, but like is kind of forced to go along to be nice. Not by Harley's parents, by her parents, which makes sense. Yeah, that'd be nice. You're going to this birthday thing. You're going to watch the Banana Splits. Yeah. So yes, and we're introduced to various other characters along the way. Other people who are at the taping, some people who work at the TV, set. The Page, who's named Page, which they joke about multiple times, and the director and the exec and the producer and all that. Like we get a bunch of these characters who are basically obviously lining up to be killed, because it's kind of a slasher movie once it gets going in a lot of ways. Just that there's more than one. In fact, there's a scene ripped right out of a Leprechaun movie, so we'll talk about that when we get there, because Tim loves the Leprechaun movies. But Tim, did you enjoy the Banana Splits movie?
Yeah, I guess so. It's I don't think it was like amazing, but I didn't think it was like that bad. I think maybe like my main problems with it is, it's like a fun premise. Again, I have no connection or nostalgia to these characters, so I wonder if that hampered it a bit for me. Like, if it is something you watched as a kid, like it probably would be a lot crazier and wilder to, watch this. But, as having no clue who or what these things are, I don't think it had as much of a connection to me, and I don't think the movie really tries to give any background to it. Like all you really know are the fact that it's a kids TV show. I think there's like enough fun deaths, and it's a short 90 movie that moves along fast enough that makes it okay. But I don't know. I do have like some like logic problems with it, which is probably not the kind of thing you should be thinking about, in these types of movies. But there is weird stuff like, why the hell are they robots? Like, why? Like, I mean, I get it in the story because it's, you want the robots to go haywire and start murdering people. But in like a real world sense, that those would never be robots. It would just be people in costumes.
1 minute, Tim. I ask a question. Okay. You have argued with me repeatedly that Chopping Mall is a sci-fi movie because it's robots. So are you going to argue that the Banana Splits movie is also a science fiction film and not a horror film because it's robots?
It's a really tough question because they're robots, but they don't look like robots. You know what I mean?
They've got a furry coat. And that makes it okay. Oh.
Yeah, it makes it a little more horrific. I did think of that as well, though. That was funny. The one like last complaint I'll have, and then I'll turn the microphone over to my esteemed colleague here. Is that
goddamn right I'm esteemed.
It's and again, like maybe I'm thinking too hard about this kind of movie, but like the characters were just so and I feel like I've been saying this a lot, but they were just so surface level. Like there was like no depth at all to them. Like, you mentioned the dad. It's like he is such a typical like over the top like workaholic bad dad, and exactly like what's gonna happen and stuff. And then like and then same with like the other characters. Like you have like like the stage dad that wants to get his daughter into acting, and then like the super uber fan that knows way too much and isn't like afraid to tell you about it and get super excited.
He's also an influencer. He's always on his live streaming on Instagram and whatnot.
And it's just like, and those are fine like characters to have, but again, that's all they feel like. They just feel like these over the top annoying characters. There really is no like depth at all. Like they don't ever actually feel like actual people. But I mean, I have other stuff to talk about, but I'll let you get a word in.
Oh, too kind, Tim. Too kind. I thought it was okay. I think I don't know if it quite lives up to the potential of the premise. I think I'll say the things I would say are good about it, and these might sound like backhanded compliments, but I do mean this, is that I think it's paced just a bit right for the story. I think the structure and pacing feels like an 80s or 90s direct-to-video movie. Like, I was thinking of things like Demonic Toys. I was thinking of things like I don't know, like, but like there's it felt kind of like it was harkening back to a different era of horror movie. And
like I could see this as like a full moon movie or something like
absolutely,
that.
And I think that's the side of it worked. I think the characters, while I agree they were very thin, I think they actually did an okay job with them in that, okay, at least I understand who each of the characters are, that they're not annoying characters, they're a bit bland, sure, but they're likable enough. The mom seems nice enough. The older brother is a bit douchey, but he clearly cares about his little brother, so he comes across with a little bit of a heart. It is very thin. They're not exactly rife with depth or anything like that, but it gives me a bunch. It's almost like a comfort blanket. It's like this comfort blanket of like tropes from a different era that I'm okay with them doing. I think for me, I don't think once the robots started killing people, even though a couple of the deaths are fun, I don't know if their presence ever really became what I felt it should be or what I wanted from it. Like, no, I never quite, I don't know, like, there's a couple of moments where people will walk around the corner and they'll be like, one of the big stuffed animatronics will be, just standing there, and it's maybe like this creepy moment, and I feel there's a way to do this, and I think people were joking when the trailer of this came out that they're basically doing Five Nights at Freddy's, and they're not. This is not Five Nights at Freddy's at all. People are saying that because of the animatronics, but the whole thing about Five Nights at Freddy's is that it's about someone stationary trying to like sort of protect themselves from one room, and but more specifically, I'd say even if you took that out, mechanically, the core thing that defines Five Nights at Freddy's is the idea that you never see them move. You just look away, you look back, and they've moved, right? You get that sort of creepy doll kind of thing happening. This isn't that. This is just a slasher, thing with these big animatronic characters, hitting people with hammers and whatever else they're doing to kill people, strangling them and whatever. So yeah, I think it's okay. I think it wasn't a painful watch. It was an easy enough time to get through. It wasn't quite the B-movie gold that I was hoping it was going to become, but it was also never offensively bad or annoying, and maintained kind of a nice, decent level of like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like it's it's not gonna rock the boat in any spectacular way, but it's also not like a bad watch. Like it's not like I was watching it going like, oh, I can't believe I have to put myself through this. I was like, oh no, like I had fun watching this. Just it's not like gonna skyrocket to like my list of favorite horror movies or anything.
Yeah, it didn't have that really annoying direct-to-video look that some of these things can have. And I say that because I watched this after another movie we're recording today that we're doing next.
Oh boy.
More on that when you... I don't know when in the month this is going to be going out, but just brace yourself for Howling Reborn later in the month, is what I'm saying. So... No, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think it's an easy enough time. It's like the sort of thing where I would not recommend spending money on it. But if it pops up on Prime or Netflix or Shudder or wherever you've got access to streaming, and it's just there for free, then sure, put it on, and it'll be a fine thing to have on.
Yeah, like this to me is like the textbook definition of a streaming movie. Like it's not something you need to go out and like, this isn't something that you watch and you're like, oh man, like I wish I could have gotten the theater experience for this. But it is like, something that maybe you just kind of stumble upon. You're just looking for something you haven't seen yet, and then you watch it, and it's not painful, but it's
it's a shame.
A little bit of enjoyment.
I feel like there's just a little bit of a spark that's missing that would put it into obviously not a great movie, but like there's just a little bit of a spark missing. Maybe the kills, or maybe the menace of the villains, or the characters being a bit more wacky. I'm not sure what it is, but there's just a little bit of a spark. You can see what it's going for. You can see what sort of cheesy B movie it's going for, but there's something that just doesn't quite hit that finish line. It doesn't quite cross that line. So even though it does a couple of things that are meant to feel crazy towards the end, they don't really feel like, it feels like, okay, that's cute. You're trying to do this thing, but so it's a little bit frustrating in that sense. But it's a really easy watch. It's not a bad time. It's just kind of forgettable and never quite has the charm that I think you're hoping that it might. Because I think for the first like half hour I was thinking, well, this might be good. Once this gets going, this might be what I wanted from this, and it never quite hit it.
Yeah.
Got in the vicinity, but never quite hit it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Good, I'm glad.
I wasn't thinking about this earlier, but it just popped in my head. There was a, I think it was the same line, but I was complaining about. This would be like a little older by now, but earlier when we were recording news for a past episode, I was complaining about this really annoying line that I hate that people say, and I think it's in this movie as well. And so that just made me mad again.
We'll tell the audience what the line is. You can't leave them hanging like that. Jeez.
Like I was complaining about this trailer that ends and like someone just looks at the camera and says, well, that just happened. And it's, again, a very stupid line. I hate when people say it. It's just hacky and not good and annoying when people say it in real life. And then, I believe there's a scene where that little girl says it when the kid is kind of like doing like the dance with the elephant character. And I think the girl says that off screen, and I just remembered it. And I don't want to, I hate making fun of like kids, but I do think the kids in this were really bad actors, especially that that girl Zoe, I thought was really not good. Like some of the line delivery was just like oof. But it does feel kind of weird to
I wonder,
like judge a kid.
I
that much
wonder
by
if
that,
watching this soon after Tigers Are Not Afraid has really affected your opinion on most kid actors, because the kids in that look fantastic. So
that's true.
I wonder if that's maybe affecting that. I never really noticed the kids being, noticeably. I mean, not that they're good, but like comparatively speaking, on the spectrum of kid actors, I never noticed them being particularly egregious. But I mean, I'm not going to argue with it.
I mean, they're not the worst in the world, but they definitely ain't the best. That's for sure.
Okay. So yeah, I guess we'll give the spoiler warning. But before we get into spoilers, though, I'll go tell you about patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and for that $1 per month, you get a bonus exclusive episode of Streams After Midnight every single month. In fact, this month in the October you're getting 4, but every other month you get the 1. So go over and have a look, and then at the $5 tier you get voting rights and so on, and you get more and more stuff. So go and have a look and see if you want to support us and keep all the content coming. But yeah, also something I want to remind you before we get into the spoilers as well is at the end of the month we're doing it's just a countdown, a top 50 horror movies countdown, which is not our top 50, it's your top 50. It is a voted for top 50 by the Male Fuzz TV community, by the Screams After Midnight audience, where you send in your top 25 or top 50, whatever you choose. If you don't feel you can do a top 50, you can just do a top 25. Ranked, numbered in order, because number 1 gets X amount of points, number 2 gets Y amount of points, so on and so on. You can send in your list to mftvquestions@gmail.com. The deadline is the 20th of October, and there'll be a 2-part results show with me and Tim as I reveal the winners, the ranking, and Tim will sit there and react to how good or bad your voted for lists might be. So that is the plan, so make sure you go do that. So yeah, spoilers for the Banana Splits movie. So yeah, right away the stepdad is very dismissive, doesn't want to go to this Banana Splits thing. He kind of takes credit for getting the tickets when it was the mum Beth who arranged it all. And
he's like constantly checking his phone and trying to find an excuse to leave.
Yeah. Although, how early did you call that he was just having an affair, that it wasn't actually work stuff?
Fairly early on. Like, it wasn't like my immediate first thing, but I think after a while, like once he was like really like, because at first I thought it was like he didn't mind being there, but he just wanted to find a place to talk on his phone. But once you could tell that it was like, oh no, he genuinely wants to leave, then it kind of felt like a little bit more. And so what I found crazy is obviously he's cheating. Hey, big surprise. But like what was crazy to me is as soon as he's found out by the wife, or his wife, there's like no like he doesn't try to reconcile or explain anything at all. Like as soon as he's found out, he's just immediately like, all right, well, screw you, I'm out of here anyway. Like, he doesn't even like attempt to be like, honey, it was a mistake, like let's talk about this, let's work this out. It's just like he's like, whoa, I wanted to leave anyway, and then I'm like immediately calls his mistress. Like, it's kind of crazy. Yeah,
man, he just freed up, honey. Let's do something today. Also, I love when she checks his phone and she's looking through like the texts, and she sent all these like photos of her in her like underwear or nightie or whatever, and I couldn't help but feel like almost every photo was just the same photo with a different like set of underwear on. Like, it was like she kept posing the exact same way, and I'm like, what? Why do you keep sending these? And why? Because the impression is that she's been texting him all day, and she sent him like 4 different potential underwear options. Like. Yeah. And I'm not saying like they had to show nudity or something like that. It feels weird. It didn't make much sense to me. Like, they're all the same photo.
Yeah, it was that was kind of strange, and like I feel like I have like a lot of like little issues with stuff like this where, maybe I'm overthinking it, but like it kind of takes me out of the movie a little bit. Like when this kind of stuff happens, and I'm like, wait a minute, like. Yeah, why are they sending like pictures like that, and why is he so like, eager to just like straight up leave this family? And everything when it's like, and again, it's like, this type of movie, you're probably not supposed to think about it too hard, but a lot of stuff like that like would stick out in my mind.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we never get to see the older son, Mitch, punch him in the face, because I think that was something that felt like it was building up to it, but it never happens.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so he gets chased because one of the split characters has a little car that he's driving around.
And I gotta say, like, well, on the other episode we recorded, we were talking about how we're not good with remembering names, and it's like, yeah, good luck remembering the names of any of these characters. They're all like what, Fleagle or Spiegel or it's like something like that, like weird nonsensical things.
Yeah,
there's like an elephant, a cat,
Fleagle, Snarky, Dripper, and Bingo.
Okay. All right.
There's your roster of animatronic characters. Anyway, you're getting chased around. They sort of play it for comedy, where he gets the security guard, and the security guard's head's like chopped off, and then he gets run over. Of course, that does lead to the fact that he's still alive at the end, and he shows up after everything's like over. And Beth is just like, no, I want a divorce. Piss off. I'm not putting up with you. And then he actually gets run over and killed for real. By another character to kind of almost sets up a potential sequel. It's like, hey, if we're going to do more, this is how we get more.
Which is kind of an interesting turn for that character. I think her name was Poppy, who basically becomes a banana split herself.
Yeah, she's the girlfriend of the influencer guy who's a big fan, and they're so excited to be there, and they get to stay after the recording to meet the split characters. And there's a whole plot beat there that we'll talk about with the brothers, but he gets killed. He gets killed by one or two of the split characters. He gets put in the saw in half like magic box, but of course he's just sawn in half literally. And it's the goriest part of the movie actually, because they separate the two boxes and there's just like intestines dropping out.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool death scene. I like that one.
Yeah, it was not bad. But she's distraught by this. She joins up with the others. But when they get to the guy who who builds them, like his workshop, and he's in the cage because he's been locked in there by the others. She basically asks about this outfit on the wall. And he's like, oh, I was going to build, because this guy's kind of crazy. He's kind of like really crazy about his creations. He's like, oh, I was going to build a sister for the four, and she's like, a fifth split, and he's like, yeah, she was an owl, and it's got like part of an owl mask. It's almost very Court of Owls, like from Batman. And she puts this on and puts on the Talon glove and like kills the inventor. And at the end of the movie, because we don't see her after that until this very ending, where she's driving a little car, knocks this ex-husband or this husband over, and then we just see that she's got all the dead animatronics with her, and she's got the mask on still. It's like, no, she's snapped. She's one of them now, kind of thing. She's
like humming the theme song.
Yeah, I did like actually that sometimes there was like a little creepy version of it that played.
Yeah,
it was like a little. Do 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 do. Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice little thing. So no, I mean, that was a fun little idea, I guess. I think because they did this thing where the older brother Mitch is kind of flirting with Paige, who works at the studio, and it's kind of weird. He's not very good at it, but he does go to speak to her because they do this whole thing where people who have stars in the back of their tickets get to like stay behind and like meet the cast and whatnot, and. Little Harley's upset that they didn't have stars, but Mitch goes and talks to this Paige and says, "Hey, my brother's birthday. He really loves this. Can you get us to stay back?" And she's like, "Just stay back after. I'll deal with you." But yeah, there's a whole lot of little things. Like I felt they could have done more with there's a new like executive president or whatever of the studio who comes down and tells the producer that they're canceling the show. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there could be more done with that. It's basically just enough to like make him, give us like a villain who, or not a villain, that's maybe not the right word, but give us a character who's just a bit of a dick, just enough that we're not upset when he's killed, when he dies. That's basically the entire purpose of it. Same as the husband, like he's just a dick bag so that we can have someone that we can laugh at getting killed. more than anything else.
And so I forget what was like the reasoning, like why they like start killing people. Like it was the scientist like was programming them, but I forget why he.
It's so thin.
Like, is he just crazy?
No, it's so thin. He programmed them with the mantra that the show must go on, like the show must always go on. So when they find out the show is cancelled, they just start snapping and killing the adults. They keep the kids though, because they want the kids to watch their show and be a part of the show. Honestly, the most fun I had in the movie was probably when so there's another pair of characters, there's like a dad with like a sort of 12-year-old girl who's just a little bit older than the others, who he wants to like get into Hollywood and be a star and get like a big break. So he's constantly asking about the producer, can we meet the producer? My girl is talented, kind of thing. And
it's so annoying.
Yeah,
that one scene when the girl's Paige is trying to take a picture and he keeps like bothering her. It was like, I really hate like when people can't like take a clue that someone's busy and they keep trying to get their attention. And like, it drives me crazy.
Yeah. But he has a fun scene. First of all, actually, he gets his face burned.
So like, I wish there was kind of more stuff like this, because I think this is like kind of the crazy B movie like level that I was hoping would be maybe more rampant throughout the movie, because it is. I was like laughing a lot at the scene because it's just like very funny the way it's like shot, and just to see this guy with a flaming head.
You've got this big, fake dog like using a flamethrower with an aerosol can, and then the guy's face is just literally on fire until it's put out. It's a fun looking scene. But the most fun I probably had though was when him and the producer, who at this point had their fingers snapped by one of the animatronics, they're forced to play the game. Like there's like a almost what do you call it, these game shows that kids do? It's
like the slippery, like a obstacle course kind of thing.
It was like a kid's obstacle course where there's like a slippery part they have to walk in, and they have to climb a wall, and then they have to jump in a ball pit and blah blah blah. But it's like the two animatronics are making them do this, but it's like really sinister, and like these two people who are already injured are like slipping and sliding, and the guy who had his face burned falls face first into the slime, and it's like sticking to his face, and I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah, more demented shit like this where they're making them like do like an evil version of the show. Like this is
like that. I like
that was like really fun. I thought
even that like executive lady, like her, actually thought it was like pretty brutal when they showed her like slipping and like she's landing on her like hands that were already broken. Like that did kind of make me go back, like ooh, like that is tough.
Yeah, that was a good moment. And then she thinks she's gotten away because she jumped in the ball pit. She's like, no, I did it. I finished the game because I've already killed the other guy. And then the animatronic just hits her on the head with a hammer, which is kind of like and it's actually a really good shot actually, because you can see it hit her face, and her face kind of like goes in a bit. But it's a reference because the first time we meet her, she's complaining that the prop hammer's not big enough, so she gets hit in the face with a hammer, and that's kind of the ironic demise. I think the reason why the movie kind of doesn't live up to what it could be, apart from maybe just not being as ridiculous as it should for some of the back half, is that once the characters are aware of what's going on, I think I was expecting more of like a team dynamic where they knew there's this danger and they have to try and figure a way out and do that. It never really felt like there was any actual plan making happening. It was just, Beth and Mitch, they get separated from the young kids, and they're looking for them because the young kids have actually been kidnapped and put in a cage by the animatronics by this point. But they're looking for the kids, and they just kind of run into various people at various points. It started to feel like this studio is far too big than what it should be, because you've got Paige looking around for phones, you've got the producer with this dad, in the game show part. You've got Mitch and Beth kind of looking around on their own. You've Poppy still on her own with the boyfriend, I think, like looking after his corpse at this point. Like, it feels like there's so many different places they could be, and very quickly it feels like they should be running into each other more, and it felt like it should be more of a team dynamic. And it kind of comes together, but by the time it comes together, they're already just kind of railroaded into what's happening. There's no plan. Like, one of my favorite things about movies like this is where it's like, oh shit, we're trapped in this location with these like dangerous beings. What is our plan? How do we try and plan around this? How do we get to where my son might be, kind of thing? And there's none of that. It feels kind of aimless. It just feels like the characters are just sort of like stumbling through things and are luckily finding things when it's convenient for them to find things.
Yeah, I think aimless is like a good way to put it, but yeah, it does
Yeah.
feel like there's a decent amount of characters in this, but they really are like all split up for most of the movie, and um, yeah, sometimes it's fun, like you follow a character and then they end up in somewhere for like a cool scene, but then it might work a little better to have people being a little more proactive and actually like working together versus kind of just stumbling upon stuff. And
Yeah, it feels that's the problem. It feels like they're still stumbling when we're getting to Act 3. When at some point in Act 2, they should be kind of banding together to kind of like formulate plans or try and do something. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I feel like it was lacking that, and lacking the animatronics being actually a bit more menacing. I think are the two main things that it needs.
Yeah. I didn't really like the way that the animatronics looked like. And again, maybe if you are more familiar with the show, maybe it's cool to see like, oh, hey, like, these those look like the characters I recognize, but I don't know, just like kind of looked like cheap. And again, it feels like so like one of the things I was thinking is like, I wonder if this would have been better as like maybe like a retro movie where like you said it in like the 80s or 90s or something, when a show like this might have been popular. Because like I kept having like trouble actually imagining people that would go to like, well, first of all, a studio that would still do like a live kid show like this and like kids would actually want to go to it. It seemed like a little weird to me, but I don't know, like I wonder if it maybe would have worked better, like if the characters would have worked better for me if they were like just actual people in like crappy costumes, because it seems like you could have done that. Like if you got rid of the robot angle, like you could have just had like if they were these like diehard actors that like find out their show's getting canceled and they refuse to let that happen. I don't know, honestly it seems like a little bit of a better premise to me than like these robots that start going haywire. But it's just
I'm okay with the robots as a concept. I think the only time they looked good to me was when one guy's like eye ripped off and it was like the Terminator where you could see the red eye.
Like I kind of like that once they started getting like all like torn up, like that was cool. And like the one like loses its hand, like I thought like that was interesting. Because then it looks like a little more menacing and demented and stuff. But before that one, that's just they're walking in costumes and stuff. I don't know. Also the one human actor was like so over the top, but I do like that he was like I don't know, like treating them like they were real people or something. Like he's like angry at them and like yelling at them.
That's another character who's just awful and drunk so that we don't care when he dies. That's basically it. I'll tell you, I liked I liked. Where am I going with this thought? Hold on, I need to set up. The cat's distracting me. It's a whole thing, right? Hi. So, no, I think I liked that the animatronics weren't like indestructible. Like it wasn't actually that hard to necessarily take one of them out. If like one gets taken out like halfway through, just being thrown over a balcony, and that's it, he's damaged. It's not like they're actually Terminators.
Yeah.
So I kind of appreciated that. It made it feel like, no, okay, they can fight back. They have a chance of survival if they really need to. Of course, they have no weapons, and they're not necessarily the right people to be fighting this war, as it were. But at least there is a chance of surviving with them. It never felt like so insurmountable odds that it's ridiculous that they're getting out of this. I didn't necessarily care all that much though when we found them playing. Even though I liked the obstacle course game, when they had like the executive, like who was still alive at this point, like on the big wheel, like that scene just kind of played weird for me because it felt like Beth ran out and said to all the kids who were there, like, hey, don't watch this next part because they say, oh, it's landed on banana splits and that means they're going to rip off all the limbs of the executive, which looks fine, that's what it is. Because we find out as well that all of the people who were at the show were killed before they could leave. Like all of the other parents were killed. They find this big room just full of bodies, and it's like, oh, okay, all right. I don't know if we needed that, but sure.
Yeah,
sure. We have to mention there's a good one that kind of reverts the elephant. Basically, Harley like talks him into being good again, and he fights the other animatronics to save him, and it's kind of this is supposed to be like a sweet heroic kind of moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. Like I didn't really feel like too much about it either way. Like again, maybe if there was more setup or something to it, but it really is just kind of like all of a sudden out of nowhere, yeah, like Harley sees him and he's like, I do think this kid is very stupid because he's like they're obviously in like a crazy situation, but he's still acting like these are real people or something because he's like, no, he would never do that. And it's like, kid, come on, like you've been seeing some crazy things here. But yeah, pretty much he gets him to agree to help him just by doing his dance with him.
Yes.
Right,
reminds him what he's
whatever.
supposed to be there for. He's there to entertain children, so that's what he should continue doing. Yeah. Yeah, and that was basically it. Was there any other deaths or anything that were worth mentioning? I think we mentioned all the main ones that were good. Damn it, Cat.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Yes. So pretty much, other than the end, which was just then kind of like big battle between all of them, and then the I forget which one it was, but one of them is attacking the mom, and then she uses the weird gift the brother got.
It's like he's really into fantasy, so his brother got him a wand, and he's like, oh, it's just a small wand, and he's like, no, press that button, and it extends like to like 3 times the length, and it's quite fast as well, and it ends up being this weapon. Like the mum puts it in the animatronic's mouth and like turns it on, and it just like goes through his head, and I'm like, why did you give this to a 9-year-old? Like what was the
eventually at some point, if he was using it, like he probably would use it on like a friend or something he's playing with, or like even kind of like use it on himself to see what it's like, and if it can go through like
a robot,
which is like metal, like it's probably gonna do some significant damage when he tries it out on someone else. But I mean, I'm sure when you saw that opening scene, like during the birthday when he opens it up, I'm sure you like me were like, all right, well that's gonna come into play later.
Oh sure, yeah, that was Chekhov's thingy.
But yeah, that's about it. At least what I can remember.
There's like the smallest arc of like the friend or the not friend Zoe kind of liking Harley by the end. Like, oh, you're not so weird, kind of thing.
Yeah, because like she didn't want to go at first, and then it's like because she thinks like, oh, that's like stupid, that's baby stuff. But then like you can see her while she
you have to use your hands. It's like a baby's toy. Sorry.
Yeah. But like again, like I feel like they could have done more with this idea of like growing up, and here's this kid who his friends are starting to kind of put that stuff away, but he's still clinging on to it, and then
they really don't do anything with that. They do something at the start where he's too old for this show, and even though his dad's been a dick about it, like it feels like like there should be an arc here where he does kind of have to grow up and like, if not give up what he loves, at least accept it for what it is, and kind of like say, no, I won't give it up because I like it. I don't care how stupid it is. Like, but there's not really any kind of like arc for him that comes out of it. It's kind of weird. Now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I don't know, probably sounds like, said like a lot of negative stuff, which, probably did. But, I mean, maybe being a little overcritical, it is still a fun watch. Like it's easy, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's dumb fun.
It's not bad. Like, obviously, I mean, I think we've sounded critical because we were suggesting a number of ways that could have propelled it into being good or great, but as it is, it's a fine watchable movie with a couple of fun moments, characters who are not excruciatingly painful to listen to, which is a plus in the horror genre because a lot of them do have really excruciatingly painful characters to listen to.
That's true. Yeah.
But no, that's the Banana Splits movie. So I guess we're rating it now. Timmy, what would you rate the Banana Splits movie? Would you rate it 1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana, 4 banana more? What are you going to do when they ask for more?
Well, I guess I'll give him a little bit more. I'll go with a 5.5. I feel like it's just like a little bit over that kind of midway point of like, liking it. And I don't want to say it's not like it's between like and hate, but it's more, a little bit over the, liking it and not really liking it. But yeah, still not like, reaching the heights that many horror movies do of like the coveted 6 or 7 score.
I would describe it as between mediocre and kinda likable. That's exactly where it's landing. Yeah. So for the second time today in recording, I'm going to agree with your score exactly, which I don't like. I don't like that we're agreeing this much. We're too in sync. Yeah. Is this like when the menstrual cycle lines up between people who live together? Like we've been talking about horror movies for too long together now that we're just lining up on a lot of our scores.
It would be fun to, I bet, like if we did like a game show or something where like someone like I don't know, just like says a movie or plays like a small clip from a movie and then we have to guess what the other person would rate it. But we do pretty good at it.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, 5.5 for me as well. Not a bad time. You could definitely do much worse. Sure. And the thing we're going to record after this is definitely on that list. So
it's another movie. It's not the Thing movie. We're saying another movie thing that we're going to do, but not the movie The Thing. Just for clarification, because The Thing is great.
Thank you for that clarification. I wouldn't want anyone
the John Carpenter thing, not the original thing.
I mean, the original's fun to watch, but yeah,
and not the remake from a couple of years ago. I'm talking about the Carpenter '80s movie called The Thing.
I hope we get.
Some might even call it John Carpenter's The Thing.
I hope we get a sequel to John Carpenter's The Thing, and then we get a sequel to the original 1950s The Thing, and then we'll get a prequel to the prequel/remake from 2011. Like let's go as confusing as Texas Chainsaw with this.
Yeah. That sounds about what filmmakers like to do nowadays.
Oh dear. Yeah. So that has been the Banana Splits movie. It is a decent time. It's not super hype or anything, but it's okay. So that's the show. That's the review. You can of course let us know what you think of the Banana Splits movie in the comments below. You can like and subscribe. That does help us, as does going to your podcast app. Apple Podcasts being the most common one, and giving us a nice 5-star rating and review helps more people find us. Apple recommends us out a bit more often because of it. So please do go and do that. And as mentioned halfway through the show, check out patreon.com/MailFuzzTV to support us with your monies. But check out all the stuff we've got. Of course, it's the Octoberthon, 31 days of horror, 31 days of episodes, and hopefully you're having fun with all the episodes we've had so far and all the episodes we have after this, and check out maybe other content we have. But you're more than catered for in the month of October. It'll almost feel like there's nothing happening when we go back to one per week in November. But that has been the Banana Splits movie. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, keep having a fun October, guys, and we will see you next time.